This proposal framework has landed millions of dollars of web design clients. I've been using it for over 10 years. In fact, I just landed a client over $10,000, $10,500 last week using this framework. I've shown hundreds of double stackers how to do it too. In fact, this framework is one of the reasons why I offer a $5,000 new revenue guarantee as part of DoubleStack, because I know that if I can help you write just 2 or 3 of these proposals, I would be blown away if you didn't land at least one, if not all 3, especially since in DoubleStack I can actually work on it with you and we can actually do role plays together to make sure that you're good at presenting it and everything. So let's take a look at how it works. Okay, a little context. So this is gonna be a proposal for a personal trainer named Sarah, and what I'm about to show you right now is what I would talk about in the second meeting. There would have been a first meeting where I get all the problems and goals and details and everything for the project, which we're gonna see here in a second, but this is gonna be the second meeting. And it's an outcome-driven proposal. It's not service-driven. It's not a list of services with a price tag, and I hope people hire me for that price. This is going to be, how do I actually achieve the outcomes my clients want? And it's the DoubleStack approach to landing custom projects. So you get a lead from somewhere. The lead falls outside of your niche, so it's not really the right fit for your solution-first agency, but you want to take the project on anyway, and so you want to write a custom proposal, and this is how I do it. There's 5 parts to the proposal, and you can remember which each part is because it starts with one of the letters of the word part. So we have the problems, then we get into the audience, the results, the tactics, and then we sell the solution. So here is the first part. It's the overview, or where we start listing the problems. And I have I've been reviewing web design proposals for like 7 years, and I've even written something like this myself. Like, don't you ever feel like it's hard to figure out how to start the proposal? And so you just write fluff, like Sarah started her personal training business in 2015 and blah, blah, blah. It's like, she knows that. This is Sarah. I'm talking to Sarah. Like, everybody already knows all of this stuff. Why would I say that? And it's because I didn't know what else to say. Well, we'll say this, right? Put this stuff into the overview. 3 things. The client's main goal, 3 to 5, like usually 3. Like, I like to shoot for 3 challenges where if I could say, if I could do these 3 things, doesn't it make sense that we would therefore bring this main goal to life? And then I'm also going to put in the consequences for not solving the problems, because that's how I add genuine urgency into the mix. So I don't want to do fake urgency. I just want people to understand that there are real consequences to not solving these issues, and that's why they should move forward. I'm just being honest. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to be putting into the overview, and it looks like this. So if I was in a real conversation with Sarah, then first of all, I'm not emailing this. I'm not sending the proposal to anyone. We're setting up a second meeting. It's live. I'm either doing it over Zoom or in person, and I'm going to be showing this on my screen so that we can both look at it, but I'm not reading it word for word to her. I'm just using it as an outline for what to talk about. And we can both look at it. And I'm not going to read it word for word right now either. You can pause the video and kind of read it if you want to, but I'm just going to be summarizing what's on it. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to say, hey, remember when we were talking before, you mentioned that you're feeling really stressed out and that you had uncertainty about the future and you're facing all these challenges with growing your business and everything, and you wish that you had more revenue, like insufficient revenue, and that you needed to reach a broader client base, and that you felt like your website wasn't really pulling in the leads like you wanted to. Like, I'm talking about those 3 problems: insufficient revenue, limited client base, ineffective online presence. And she's gonna be like, yeah, I remember all that stuff. But do you see how like right off the bat, we're getting into the problems? We're not just talking about fluff. Like, this is important stuff, and it should be tapping in emotionally to the client. Like, man, I really do wish I could resolve these problems. And then I'm going to go into the consequences of not addressing the problems. And I'll say, hey, remember you said you had all these business expenses and you wish you could travel more, like you wish your lifestyle was different. And if you couldn't figure all this stuff out, you're afraid that you might have to even change careers and you're missing potential business and all this stuff. Do you remember all that? And she's going to remember all that stuff because we talked about it. And we're just sort of kind of setting the stage to pick up from where we left off before in a meaningful, authentic way. And then at the end of the overview, I'm going to say the main outcome. I'm going to say, ultimately, you said you wanted to double your revenue from $60,000 to $120,000, right? And she's like, yeah. And so I'm putting like a ray of hope right there. Like, if we could do that one main goal, then all of the other problems would go away. And now we're kind of on the same page. So you see how we've kind of primed the meaning for this whole solution? Like, it's so much better than just summarizing how long she's been in business or something. And then we're going to get to the target audience, which is the next part, the A in parts for audience, because I'm constantly thinking traffic leads clients, traffic leads clients. If you can't drive traffic, nothing else matters. Like, the landing page doesn't matter, email opt-ins don't matter, email drip sequences don't matter, because nobody sees it. So you got to get the traffic. And so I'm going to be talking about her client persona. And so I'm going to be remembering stuff that we talked about from the first meeting and talk about the demographics and what age group, and are these primarily professionals, and what location are people coming from, and what are their interests, because I want people to understand that I know how to find these people online through different types of blog posts that might show up organically through paid ads and different social media channels and so forth. And I also want to be able to say that I know what the pain points and the goals are for my client's customers. So that means I'm going to be able to write marketing content that really raises some eyebrows and catches some attention and be like, yeah, if we could create content like that, that would definitely bring in my ideal clients. So that's why I feel like it's really important to talk about target audience. And most web design proposals completely ignore that concept. Then we get to the goals. So when we get to the goals or the result, like the main result we're trying to achieve, I'm going to repeat the primary goal from the overview, but I'm also going to mention the secondary kind of stepping stone goals, like the tact, like how am I going to achieve the primary goal? And so it's going to just look like this. And I'm going to be using this again as like bullet points to summarize the conversation. But I'm going to say, hey, so our primary goal is to double your revenue in the next 12 months. If we could do these 3 things, I think that would happen. The first thing we need to do is we need to generate at least 50 leads per month from your website. We want to get 20 clients from those leads, and we probably are going to need to launch 2 additional revenue streams. So I put this third one in because sometimes you'll have a client who has a goal that is not going to be able to be achieved under the exact same business model they already have. So for example, if Sarah is meeting with her personal training clients one-to-one, she might not have enough time on her calendar to double her revenue. And so we might have to have ways to leverage her time more effectively so that she can make more money without necessarily having to spend more time. And that's why we're going to talk about some online programs that she can add to her business. Then we get to the strategic objective. So how am I going to implement all 3 of those things? And so I'm going to figure out how do we establish a strong online presence, expand the client base, and develop those revenue streams. And again, with the objective of doubling your revenue over 12 months. And don't worry if some of the stuff that we're about to talk about is outside of your ability to do by yourself, because if you're part of DoubleStack, you'll have access to all these white label teams. And if you want to run ads or do SEO or something like that, but you don't want to do all that work yourself, we can help you with it. But the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm talking to Sarah is I'm going to say, well, let's focus on the website first. How are we going to get 50 leads to come in every month? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to redesign the website with an emphasis on lead generation. And we're going to put up landing pages and have each landing page talk to the different personas, kind of referencing the target audience that we were just talking about. We're going to implement a blog with weekly fitness tips and nutrition tips and add client testimonials and success stories and build a lot of social proof around your business and everything. And that's what the website's going to be like. And then we're going to take some of that same content to enhance your social media strategy. We're going to develop a content calendar. We're going to share some tips about workout videos and nutrition tips and everything, probably repurposing some of the stuff we put on the blog, engage followers, run periodic Q&A sessions. Maybe we'll start a Facebook group or set up a YouTube channel. Like for example, this YouTube channel is awesome because if you wanted to you can just like drop some comments down below. Like if you're looking through this stuff, you have some questions or want to talk about it, just drop some comments down below. I can work with you on it. We can interact. And subscribe to the channel so you can see all the next stuff. And you might want to do something like that for your clients too, so they can have this nice way to interact and engage with their audience. And then on the local SEO front, I'm going to talk about some stuff that shows that I know how to drive traffic for the kind of business my client has. And I would know that for a local in-person business, that setting up a Google business profile and a Yelp page are really important. And I talk a little bit about why that is. And by the way, these meetings, like I'm ripping through it really fast right now. But normally speaking, a meeting like this would probably take me 45 minutes to go through all this stuff with the client. But for the sake of this video, you can pause the video and read the text if you want to, but I'm just kind of doing overviews of what we're talking about. And then the last thing is email marketing. So I'm going to talk about building a segmented list of different client personas and then emailing offers and tips and stuff like that to kind of keep those people engaged. And then the next thing I'm going to talk about is, okay, now we got the leads coming in. How do we turn the leads into clients? And I'm going to talk about implementing a referral program and paid ads on Facebook and Google and everything, develop partnerships for local gyms, health food stores, just different types of ways to get in touch with the client base, and then create a client acquisition funnel. So this is a little bit different from the email marketing we talked about in the first one. This is actually an email opt-in for something like a 14-day fat loss jumpstart guide. And then I'm going to follow up with everybody that downloads that guide, like maybe 1 email per day over the next 14 days to kind of nurture that sequence to say, hey, well, why don't you come on in? Why don't you at least call for a consultation? Something like that. And then the third thing is those additional revenue streams. And I'm going to mention what they are. So I think we should create 2 different online programs for you. One would be a body weight training program, no tools required. So it's just calisthenics. You can do it on vacation. You can do it while you're traveling. If you're really busy, like say most of the time you can come in person, but when you're traveling, you can do this online program. And I'm going to do a nutrition one as well. So everything is dialed in for your metabolic type. You've got meal plans, and I'll show you how to shop so that you don't have to spend a ton of money on all the food and all the stuff, all in these online communities that people can subscribe to, so you can leverage your time in a more effective way, so you don't have to do one-on-one coaching for everybody. And then what we'll do is we'll launch these different services to integrate into your website. We'll mention them on social media. We'll have different special introductory rates for existing clients if they wanted to join these different programs. We could even run a challenge, like set something kind of gamify the introduction of these different revenue streams into the mix. And wouldn't that be awesome? So now we've got all three of those things kind of spelled out, and my client can understand where the traffic, where the leads, where the clients will all come from, why that means more revenue. And then I'll get into selling the solutions. And when I do that, I'm going to restate the financial objective one more time. I'm going to make sure that my pricing is within 10 to 30% of the expected value. So of the $60,000, my stuff is going to cost somewhere between 10 to 30% of that $60,000. And then each solution represents a combination of the tactics we just talked about. And it looks like this. So on the left-hand side, I've got the three major things we just talked about. The website that we talked about, the redesign for the site. We've got how we're going to expand the client base, and then the different revenue streams. And then on the right-hand side, I've got the pricing for each of my good, my better, and my best packages. I got my best one up at the top. And just for you and me, in kind of like that faint gray font, I put the annual investment, just so you can see how the annual cost of what I'm planning to provide is in line with that 10 to 30% of the total goal. So I have the best one, but at the top with the website, the clients, and we're going to do all the things all at once as fast as possible, get the fastest results, and that's how you can double your revenue in 12 months. And if she's like, yeah, that sounds great, let's do it, boom, that's the plan that we'll go with. If she says, hey, you know what, I love everything you said, it's just out of reach, I just don't have that kind of cash to invest in it right now, what else can we do? I would say, well, what if we just push the revenue streams off and we'll do that later, and we can just focus on the website and then expanding your client base, and we do the middle one. And if she says, but even that's too expensive, then I'll say, well, let's at least start with the website, then we can bump up to the clients, and then we can add on the revenue streams later. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up a value ladder, meaning that as long as she can get on at least the first step, like the website step, we can add the other components later. And the point is, I'm never saying that we're not going to double her revenue. All I'm doing is stretching the timeline. So I'm not watering down the results, I'm stretching the timeline. And most people are probably going to pick the middle one. So when you set up all these prices and everything, just be ready for people to pick the middle one, and also be ready for people to say yes. This proposal structure has closed millions of dollars in sales, and over the last decade of my own sales, all the DoubleStackers and everything. And just be prepared for somebody to say yes. Like the way that I was doing it, I would have QuickBooks Online open. And if somebody was ready to say yes, I would just go into QuickBooks Online. I would enter in my client's billing information and bill them for the first part of the project right there in the meeting so we could get started. So, and that's an important point, because people are going to say yes, and you want to be able to figure out what you're going to do for that. Send them get them to write a check, do the QuickBooks Online thing, send them a Stripe link, something like that, so that when people say yes, you can actually do something about it without looking like, oh, I'm surprised you're saying yes. So if you want to write a proposal like this with me, head over to lead.blue and join me in DoubleStack, and we can write one together. So that's what I do when I get referrals and I need to write a custom proposal. But what if you're not getting any referrals right now? Check out this next video and discover how to go from 0 to booked in 5 steps. Or try this web design niche quiz, answer a few questions, and you'll discover the best clients to focus on based on what you feel like are your most valuable skills. Either way, I'll see you in a minute.